r/ProRevenge. Scream at me and my friend in the bookstore, let me end your entire career. Backstory. Back when I was in college, my pathophysiology class had a final project worth 50% of the total grades we could earn, and groups were picked at the beginning of the semester. This was a massive project that you were expected to start working on at the beginning of the semester, and if you thought you could do it all last minute you were probably in for a bad time. It was myself, 2 other girls who I knew worked hard, and then this one guy that the one girl was crushing on. She had to add him to our group because he was cute or something. I have no idea. I call him idiot every time I tell the story though, because he truly was an idiot. The girls were fantastic and everyone pulled their own weight during this project, with exception to Idiot. Idiot never once did any of the group project work. He ignored all messages through texting Facebook, but would answer the one girl if she was flirting with him. He would only show up to class maybe twice a month, if that. He would constantly post photos of himself on vacations in Mexico or the Bahamas. I'm pretty sure he spent more time out of the country than in it. 1 week before the project is due, he messages the group asking what pages in the textbook he needs to look through to do his part of the project. We tell him what he needs to do, and where to find the information. We laid everything out for him. If we did anything more we would be better off doing his part of the project ourselves. Idiot thanks us and then disappears. We all assumed he was doing the work he needed to do, and we were prepared to take a hit on our marks because he didn't have anything done up until now, so the quality of his work was probably terrible at best. Project due date rolls around, and he's nowhere to be found, and is ignoring all of our desperate messages. We, myself and the 2 girls, go to the professor and tell her everything that happened, along with screenshots of the literal month's worth of conversations where we constantly tried to get idiots to come to labs with us, or the library where we offered to help him do his part. The professor was not amused, immediately fired off an email to Idiot and CC'd the head of the program as well, basically saying that Idiot needs to either do his part and show up to class the next week with it or he will receive a 0, and the rest of us won't be affected. Can you guess what happened? Idiot was a no answer and no show, with no excuses or anything. Professor gave him a fat 0. Turns out that he needed to do this project and do well on it to pass. He bombed every test and with this failure he was denied from passing that semester. I'm fairly certain he had to retake that course during the summer, which means he, or more likely his mom, had to shell out another $1,300 just for that class. A couple of months later in the college bookstore, Idiot and his mom, I call her Screamer, run into myself and the other girl who didn't like him, and Screamer just loses it on the girl and I, screaming at us saying we constantly harassed her son and she was going to make it impossible for myself or the girl to find work. Idiot's mom worked in the same field that our degrees were for. She sat in the board of directors for the Public Health Alliance for the area, so she was a public figure and a supposedly well-behaved and educated one too. She was escorted out by security shortly after, but that wasn't all she had planned. Screamer ended up dragging myself and the girl through every single college meeting they could schedule regarding our non-existent negative behavior towards her son, where he claimed he was constantly harassed, yet with no proof. It was literal months of this poor girl and I having to change our schedules for school classes studying so we didn't have any classes or chance happenings run-ins with Idiot, as that's what the college demanded we do. It made our last year, or 2 semesters, living hell because we couldn't be anywhere near Idiot, otherwise we could face interdisciplinary hearings or worse. Now, for the revenge. The security company that handled the contract for the college was also the same company that handled the contract where I used to work. I was extremely close friends with the night shift supervisor, going out for drinks and playing Halo all night with him and his girlfriend, sort of close. So one night after I finished work, I asked him for a favor, on the promise that I wouldn't tell a soul he helped me, and telling him he'd have another great video to share with his friends. I asked him to let me email the video to my personal email account. After I told him what had happened, and on what day and time it happened, he drove me to the campus. Just after the main building had closed, him and I walked over to his security office where they have all of the recordings that run back to the day the security system was installed. He brought the video up of Idiot's mom in the college bookstore, audio and all, of her screaming at myself and my friend. He recognized Screamer. Turns out she's done this before at a different site he patrols and that he was told he had to keep it quiet by his superiors. I told him he could be as quiet as he wanted, but I was going to get my revenge on her. A quick email later and I was in possession of the video. I found out who the rest of the board members were over the course of a few days, and they were all sent an email with the video of Screamer going apeshit in the college bookstore, screaming at an obviously confused guy and a freaked out girl. The audio perfectly captured the moment where she threatened to make it impossible for me or the girl to find any work anywhere within that district, followed by her argument with security as she was escorted out. I never received any replies from the board members, so I just waited to see what would happen. Screamer was voted out from her position the following week after the video was shown during one of the meetings she was attending. She lost her very cushy government job and was last seen working in an old age home according to a mutual friend. I'm not sure what happened to Idiot, but I did hear from the same mutual friend that he never did graduate and works at a call center now. The girl and I ended up finding full-time work immediately after graduating. Never had an issue there. Oh, and the security guard ended up getting hired by the RCMP. So I guess good things do happen to good people. Teacher tries to get me to fail. I get him fired. So a bit of background information. This happened while I was 8th grade and includes my science teacher. Also obligatory English isn't my first language. On mobile yada yada yada. So, for some reason my 8th grade science teacher hated me. He was one of the 2 science teachers for our grade, so he could basically do what he wanted in our class and get away with it, since the school didn't have a replacement. He would do all sorts of petty stuff to me, like grading tests and practical assignments wrong. You had to do the practical assignments with a partner, so he got bad grades because of me too. He would accuse me of breaking tools, which I saw him break beforehand, and give them to me. So one day I was homesick, on purpose, from school, and on that day we had a major science test, so at like 3 PM in the afternoon, I send him a message. Hey science teacher, OP here. Since I was sick today can I maybe make the test on Monday? He sends me a response 2 days later at 1 AM. Okay I think, let's see where this goes. The message read as follows. Monday 8:15 classroom 320. No calculator. He always acts passive aggressive with me, but what he didn't know is that I had conspired with 2 of my classmates and they recorded him in the lesson saying, "You can use a calculator for the whole test." We recorded everything when this man made an announcement, and he only did it once every 2 lessons so our phones didn't get filled up, and I have been filming him breaking stuff and giving them to me at the practical assignments, and then recording him accusing me of breaking it while the lessons were going on. Almost everyone was on messing around on their phone, so it wasn't out of the ordinary for me to have my phone out. So when I showed up to make the test, he was 10 minutes late. He said, "I hope you remember, no calculator." I just said got it and made the test. Now this test was almost impossible without a calculator. I saw him laughing to himself the entire time. So 2 weeks go by, yes really, and I get my grade. I got a 3/10. I think that's like an FIDK. So I did what anyone would do. Gathered my 2 friends who had the evidence on their phones and went to the principal. I explained the whole situation and showed him all of the footage that we had gathered. He called the science teacher in and asked us to leave the room. 5 minutes later he calls us back in. He informs us that we will all be suspended for 5 days for filming a teacher, but that the teacher will be fired and never allowed to work at that school again. Oh, and if you're wondering, I was allowed to retake the test and got a 9/10. Needless to say I felt pretty good afterwards. How did you like those ProRevenge stories? Let us know in the comments below. That's your daily dose of the Reddit Medic. Remember to subscribe for daily videos, like for 1 week of good luck. This is the Reddit Medic. It's a goddamn pandemic. Sub for daily videos, and don't forget to spread it. I'm a exit. Peace.